Hey guys, here we are, bar rescue updates. Stay tuned, 12 Beers a Slave, episode 5, season 3.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Okay. All right. Hi guys, sorry about that. I made a little mistake there. It's actually season 5, episode 3. I was a little nervous because the headmaster is not here today. Kevin, we miss you. But hey, at least I was able to come back and say, I made a mistake.
There you go. Honesty is the best policy.
It is always the best policy.
If you get in trouble, bring it home to me. Whether I am near you or across this
I love this song. I'm not going to lie.
Is it one of your favorites?
It's now it is. It definitely is one of my faves.
This would creep me out, though, if I walked into a bar and heard this song. It's too old school.
It is very old school. It does remind me of, a nice little episodic show called Hawaii Five-0 back in the day. The original, not the one with the hot guy who used to be a vampire. The main guy used to be on another show, Moonlighting, but not Moonlight or something. I don't know. And we can go on forever for that. Hi, guys. How you doing? Well, here we are. We are on episode 3, season 5, 12 Beers a Slave. It was in John's hometown, Las Vegas. And there's a lot to talk about. Gabby and I are going to talk about certain things. It was an interesting episode for a few reasons. And first of all, he was our illustrious bar owner, was $140 in debt, $140,000, not $140, because he'd be in real big trouble if that was going to put him under.
If it was $140, John Taffer wouldn't be coming in.
No, not at all. And they were doing anything to make money, basically.
Yes.
Anything. And what actually brought in the most money, I felt, was their BDSM. Yeah, yes, BDSM nights. They're BDSM. Yeah, BDSM nights, which is very short for sadomasochism nights, I would say, which was interesting. So we have this episode, and Brad is worried about his bar. Now he has these bartenders. As we are going in for recon, since it is in John's hometown, he said it was a block away from his house, if I was correct.
It was only a few blocks, I think, from where he's at.
From his house. He sent in some of the people from his company, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first one, and this is something that was not a giveaway at all, but we all know that the cameras go in there for almost a week before they get there, before the people for recon, bar rescue, anything like that. And as I was watching these women bartend, the one woman, I could see her mic in the back. So I could see her mic in the back, which I thought was interesting, number one. And then number 2, Megan turns to Kim.
I know exactly what you're gonna say. I caught this too.
Yeah, and she goes, those John Taffer's people are here.
Yeah, she said, like, those are the recon spies.
Yeah, those are the spies. The recon spies are here.
Yeah, and it was interesting to me because I didn't actually see the mic, but I heard them say that. And regardless of if she was mic'd or not,
yes,
and it was supposed to be a surprise, why would you blow up your spot on camera? And why would they include that? Because it kind of spoiled it for me in a way.
Yeah, it did, because now you knew what was going to go down. Now you have Brad in the car with John. Now,
so Brad actually called the bar to speak, or not Brad, John called the bar to speak to Brad and asked Brad to come outside. He gets in the car with John Taffer.
Yes.
And John's freaking out. There was a number of things wrong. And besides the bartenders, they had a mannequin outside promoting happy hour, which was super ridiculous. I mean, it didn't even look like the mannequin at the time had hair. It looked like a white T-shirt was hanging out from the top of the head. It was trashy. I'm just going to say it, guys. It was so trashy. And the next thing you know, here comes, he said it was a cross. Was it a cross? Oh, my goodness. It was more like a wooden, structure in an X.
Yes.
So it wasn't like a cross, religious cross. It was an X.
Yeah, it was like, when you watch Game of Thrones and they had Theon, like, wrapped up on, roped up on there. Basically, that's what it looked like. I was like, what is this? So I think there was like some stuff going to go down.
It was for BDSM.
Yes,
and
it was.
Apparently, Brad, the bar owner, does not know that they do these nights there.
He knows that they happen, but he told them that he didn't want those particular things happen. Like, he knew about the bondage night, but he didn't know that that's what went on in the bar.
As in, he didn't know how physical it got.
Yes, yes.
Oh, come on. First of all. If you know it's a BDSM night, what do you think they're doing?
Exactly. They're playing tiddlywinks. It's not happening, people. Stuff happens at those places.
Right.
From what I hear. And I've never been. But it was interesting. So then this is going on. So Brad in the car, this is what I want to bring up, was so laid back and passive and all of these things. And then when this happens, he runs into the bar and then becomes like John Taffer 2.0, I felt. That's the way he just yelling and screaming and taking this cross-like thing and throwing it in the garbage and getting all crazy. And I thought to myself, this was not the same guy we saw 2 minutes ago.
Right. He was very, like, passive, as you said, more on the quiet side, but he would agree with everything John Taffer was saying when he said it, and I felt as though when John's energy came in the room, he would just play off of it to look like he was macho. It seemed like he was elevating his energy levels just because John was, and raises his voice, so he would.
Yeah.
And then he just flipped a lid, and when he went back inside, grabbed that cross, was, like, trashing it, throwing it across the room, went a little nuts. And it was true. John Taffer said that Brad has no middle ground. It's always passive versus furious. And the furious is the more emotional side of him.
Exactly. And also, I think John was a little taken back by that, too, because he even said, this was not the same guy that I was just talking to.
Yeah.
And then you see the bartenders. We have Kim, we have Megan, and Belinda. And Kim.
And Elizabeth.
And Elizabeth. Yes, and Elizabeth. And Kim then has something to say to Brad, I think. He starts yelling at her. They get rid of everything. And they start arguing with each other.
Yeah, and I know Kim got upset because her husband, Aaron, was the one who helped out with the BDSM night. And he was kind of like, F this, F you guys, and walked out. So I think she left and walked out too, and she didn't want to come back to work.
No, she definitely left in protest. And I thought she was gone because her husband left. That's the way I thought happened.
I thought that too, to be honest.
Yeah, because we come into the next day, everybody's there except for Kim.
Right, and I think it pretty much was her husband influencing her to not show up because he probably didn't like what went down. And he was in the middle of it.
Exactly. And so we have the 3 bartenders now learning drinks. And our bar expert, what was his name?
So we have David Vaughn, who was the
Vaughn.
mixologist that came in.
Who is nice.
You weren't a fan of David?
No.
Really?
No.
Tell us about that.
I felt like just like Brad, it was a little contrived.
Mm-hmm.
And he was more like these women, he was teaching them drinks, and these women just couldn't get it done. And we'll see when we go to the stress test that they can't get it done because they're so stressed out about getting the drinks made and not knowing what they were doing. And he's yelling at them. That's not helping these women. They were very fragile as it was in the beginning because Megan, as we saw when we saw her story, which was very sad, she's an addict. She's been struggling. She's now, because of Brad, bartending and doing well for herself. So she doesn't want to see this place close either. But she doesn't know how to make a drink. And even in the stress test, we're watching this and she can't get anything done because she's so nervous. She walks away from the bar. Belinda goes after her And I know that Belinda was trying to help. I don't think she was trying to be nasty about what she was doing, but then brings up her past. That just makes it even worse.
So you're talking about the stress test.
I'm talking about the stress test, yeah.
Okay, so I think Elizabeth came back for this.
Yes.
She came back for the stress test.
Yeah, Kim came back for the stress test.
Or Kim.
Yeah, Kim came back from the stress test. She showed up right before the stress test. And I know I'm going a little fast forward about the Megan thing, but I just wanted to tell you that why I didn't particularly care for David, because these women were fragile. And with fragile people, sometimes you have to take a different approach. If we were in a different kind of bar, his approach would have been great. I just didn't like his approach with these women.
I mean, I get that. So you're pretty much saying the teacher didn't do a good job at educating.
Yes, the teacher did not teach at that particular moment. At that particular moment, the teacher did not teach.
I personally feel, though, it's also difficult dealing with John Taffer screaming at everybody as well. But he also has a temper, and in his, right and in his corner, I would say, that he needs to get like that to create a change and do a 180 with them. But at the same time, if I was those bartenders, oh my God, I don't know if I could work under that kind of pressure.
Yeah, and that's my whole point. Like, John's already here, and now you have the bar expert already here, and then you have Brad already here. So you have 3 people
chiming in
all on the same, level 10, we'll say, level 10. And you could tell that these women, they're getting nervous. They can't do it. But what I will say, going into, Kim shows up for the night shift. They all have a talk, wind up. You can work, but you're not going to be behind the bar because you didn't learn the drinks. You didn't learn anything. And she was okay with it. And she actually became a true team member. And to me, became one of my favorite people on the show, actually. Because then while we were doing the stress test, when, Megan's going down in flames, she's trying to calm her down and trying to do what a team member and a work member would do for someone. Seeing them go, no, calm down, you could do this, even though it didn't help, but she did try, which I really liked.
Right. And then was it Elizabeth who took Megan aside?
It was Belinda who took. Belinda took.
Too many girls.
I know. And it took her aside. That's when she takes Megan aside, and she says all those things to Megan, which then doesn't help the problem.
Right.
Even
so
more.
She pulled her aside because Megan was having an anxiety attack and a nervous breakdown.
And she walked out from behind the bar.
And this girl, as a fellow peer, coworker, tries to calm her down and help her, but I think it came off in the wrong way. And as John described it, I sort of saw what side, he was playing to at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to bring in personal matters into a business situation like he mentioned. Yeah. And I don't think that was right now looking back on it. But sometimes I get what she was coming from with the tough love. But if it's your best friend, maybe. But I don't think these girls are like tight like that. They're not sisters in that sense.
They believe that, Megan and Kim believed that they hated each other. And at the end, you found out that they didn't even hate each other. They actually really liked each other. Which was great to see.
They probably had a girl complex amongst each other, where they felt like they were in competition. And I'm sure in certain bars it's very competitive, and they want to make more money or they need the tips, and I'm sure it gets a little catty inside.
Yeah, and we're going with this, and then Brad broke down. Oh, that was before. But then he had actually let them know, I'm losing all this money. I'm not getting paid. You guys are getting paid. And then John's asking him all these questions. And it was, to me, there's just parts of this episode where I was like, okay. I just didn't feel a connection with this episode. And that happens sometimes. It happens sometimes. And like I said, but there were some great things that came out of the episode. Like when they go to the casino after the stress test, they then go to the casino because John is now redoing their bar and then we have David. And I thought David did a great job there because he then really went into teaching him about the different drinks that they were going to do. He had 2 more drinks on top of the other 3 that they had. And he really went into it. And I felt I was like, why couldn't he have been like that the whole time?
Yeah, and
that's where I felt about David, and I don't want anyone to think that I don't like him. I thought he did great the second half.
Yeah, I didn't mind David. And then when he did do the second training, I absolutely loved the drinks he came up with.
Yes.
And I have to say that there's some symbolism behind it, at least from my perspective.
Yeah.
So the gold rum roast is one of them. I loved it. That would be a drink I would totally buy because I love coffee. I love cinnamon. And it had rum in it and a biscotti garnish. How cute is that?
When I saw that, I was like, I want to make one right now.
Should say biscotto, because isn't that the Italian way? Biscotto.
No, see, that's like the
It's not
American.
biscotti. Biscotti is American.
Well, no, because like American Italian sometimes it's like manicotti instead of manicotti.
Right. That's why I thought
So,
it was
but
biscotto.
in Italy, it is biscotti. It is
Okay.
biscotti.
But in America,
it's like
Italian.
biscotti.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's why. Because I know in restaurants they say it a little differently.
Yeah.
And then
But
the
you're
second
right.
drink was the Brad, which was hysterical. And reading between the lines, you
Yes.
guys, there was a lot of symbolism with this one. Tequila silver. Now think about what tequila reminds you of and what it brings to the table. People get crazy on tequila.
Yes.
So I feel like it was symbolizing Brad's personality and the way he manages.
Yes.
When you drink tequila, you go nuts. It's tequila for a reason. So I was thinking, wow, this is the perfect drink for the
Yes.
bar. And then they had the blackberry juice, which is kind of exotic. And then the jalapeno infused agave nectar. And jalapenos like that hot, like
spicy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in that sense, it's like, wow, it's really taking Brad's personality and like putting him out there.
And he loved it. Did you see how much he loved it? So this guy really did have he liked the attention, and I think that's what he was missing in all of this.
Right.
And well, we got to see that he did get attention with a lot of the things that he did, but definitely with that, he lit up when that drink came about.
Yes, he definitely
Yes.
did. And more to come, like you said, later on.
Yes.
So he definitely had this episode be about him towards the end.
So after, they're still, when they're training and they're at the casino.
Right.
John sits them at the blackjack table, is it?
I think it was maybe a blackjack. I
Maybe
don't know. It
it
looked
was
like
a
a video.
table. Yeah, a table. And he sits them at the table and talks to them. And I loved how he did that. And this is one of those perfect John Taffer moments. And goes into how Belinda spoke to Megan and says, you can't bring in personal problems into when you're in with your employees when you're talking to them. Because it just makes, and Belinda wasn't getting it, which I can understand, because if sometimes when she said tough love, that's what she believes. And I don't think she was throwing any animosity or anger out at Megan, even though she said at the end she kind of did get angry and everything. At that moment, I don't think she was throwing anything at her. She just said, if you can't do this, you're going to go back to being a stripper and being all these things.
Super negative Nancy.
Yeah,
though.
it was definitely negative. Definitely negative Nancy. But so they talked about all of those things, and that's what I love about John, because he gets to the root of the problem psychologically, which you have to do a lot of these times on these episodes, because it's not always about the building, it's about the people and what goes on with the people inside the building.
That's true.
And he's genius at it.
If you don't have a strong base, then there's no foundation.
There is no foundation whatsoever.
Yeah. So it was much needed. That
Yes,
second
very much
training,
needed.
which was interesting because they had 2 in this episode.
Well, yeah, because the stress test. By the way,
failed
as much
with
as we want to
flying
say
colors.
about Megan, it was everybody. She just, she went down and she did it brilliantly, but everybody went down in flames. I think, how many people got drinks? It was I can count maybe on both hands. Maybe on both hands. It
I
was
don't even
so,
think
it was
that.
so bad. And, Brad's taken drinks that were already made to other people people were waiting for other drinks. It was bad.
It was definitely not a good look for them.
No, not
I'm
at all.
surprised anyone came back when it was recon.
Yeah. But, that's why they had to have that second training. And it turned out a whole different way.
Yeah. And poor Megan, we see another episode where someone else has only had a few months bartending experience. They're very new to the scene.
Yes, exactly. And, they're accusing her of stealing and everything like that.
That was inside drama, yeah.
And once again, goes back to what we were saying. So then we come to...
the finale.
Yes, the reveal.
The reveal. John reveals the Bradley, which I thought was so classy.
Before we even talk about the Bradley, can we talk about the Brad?
Yeah.
Because the Brad, since he had such a beard, because he wasn't going to shave the beard, he wasn't shaving the beard until he was making money again, and shaved that beard. And let me tell you something. I was like, who is that?
Yeah.
Very handsome man, very good looking, all of those things. I was like, oh, Brad, all right now. And that, I think, was a very big aha moment for him, but the aha moment for some other, the audience too.
Right.
I thought. So when he showed up, even John was like, who? Like, hello? Oh, hi.
It was funny. I noticed that as well. He was very put together, but it also represented the brand well. So moving forward, now that this is the reveal and it's a new bar, I think he needs to keep this image up.
Yes, and this is the image he should keep up, because this is the image that is going to bring the people back. Because with this particular bar, it's not on the strip. It's off the strip.
Definitely not on the strip.
No, definitely not. And how many people go past this? 23,000?
I think it was around those numbers, but I didn't write that.
I think it's like 23,000. And so you have all these people, and for people like a local bar, we all like a local bar. So I felt he keeps that whole attitude. I thought the girls looked great. I liked the all black on black. But going into the bar itself, what did you think of the bar itself?
So I thought the bar was really nice, what he did with it, but at the same time, it wasn't my favorite reveals. But they definitely needed a little bit of an upgrade, and I loved the name. I thought the Bradley,
the name is the best.
Gaming and Cocktail Lounge, it explains exactly what's inside. John was nice enough to actually add in extra, video betting machines, I guess.
Because he had enough for 15, and he had to get rid of, 12 of them?
Yeah, so he got rid of like 2 or 3.
He had to get rid of some because of taxes.
He couldn't pay for the taxes. So John Taffer came in, got him a few extra, and paid taxes for 3 months on those gaming equipment.
Which I thought was great. When I heard that, that's actually one of my favorite moments on Bar Rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he said we pay for the 3 months of taxes so you don't fall behind. I was like, that's amazing.
Because otherwise he's still setting him up for failure if he doesn't handle the tax issue.
And that's a big thing.
It is a big thing.
You can't get behind with the tax man.
And then, I just loved what he did with the interior. I thought, like he mentioned, the warmness does always create a character, and it's inviting. And
yes.
He definitely made it more of a welcoming place, whereas before it was kind of like scary. I mean, they're having these BDSM nights, and it's this shabby bar. I'm like, why would I want to go in there?
Dingy and dirty looking.
Dingy and dirty. He changed the lighting. He added lighting to light up the stage so that they can invite better musical acts and actually do something with it, which I thought was great, much needed. Obviously, Vegas is all about entertainment. So if you don't have the entertainment or the games, then you're at a loss, probably against all your competition. He put in the 2-touch POS systems, which is always needed in a bar to make things efficient. So that will probably help these bartenders with their speed.
Oh, definitely.
Orange Door entertainment system, added that in again. And what else?
He did the TVT, the Taffer.
Yeah, Taffer
University,
the
as
virtual
I like to
training.
Yeah, I like to call it Taffer University.
Right, which is great that he's able to promote his own business on the side to get these people, in tune with what's going on in their bar. They also brought in a live band for the end of the night, which I thought was great. Like the ambiance of what they did, what they put together, the drinks. I mean, the only thing missing is food, but other than that, I thought it was good.
I agree with you. The only thing missing was food, which is fine. Not all bars have to have food, and that's great. But everything else, and can we talk about how these girls, it was like a 180. A 180. They were getting the drinks out. They were happy. Everything was getting made right.
They were nice to each other.
Yes, they were like really nice to each other. Everything seemed like it came together.
It definitely did. And I will say one reason why I actually didn't like mind this episode, I actually did like it for a certain reason. It would be because, you know, Megan started out as the underdog.
Yes.
She is the least experienced, 5 months into bartending.
Yes.
And on top of that, she has a daughter at home. She's had a rough past.
Yes.
She was arrested, had charges against her for, I think, larceny and a few things.
It was larceny.
So she definitely has, like, you know, a past with skeletons in her closet. But this girl, like, really wanted to be good and good for her daughter. And I think telling that backstory really made us relate to her and want her to succeed. And now David Vaughn, the mixologist, is calling her the all-star of the group.
Which is fantastic.
Right.
So, like I said, when I said a few minutes ago, wasn't my favorite. It turned out afterwards is up there with one of my favorite experts. Wasn't my favorite, now is. Because he changed it around too. Because not everybody has like the Phil Wills touch, you know, or the Mia touch. And he wound up having that touch in the end.
Right.
Which I
like.
like.
You know, they all have their own different ways of
Yes.
putting their hand on everything and really making a mark each episode. So I think he was good for this one.
Yeah,
for what it's worth.
yeah. At the end, yes, very much so.
Yeah. And, you know, John Taffer had mentioned that they sold more drinks in 10 minutes than they did in the stress test, which is a big deal.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. More drinks in 10 minutes than they did the whole entire stress test.
So think about that, because the stress test can go for like an hour, or it can go a few hours depending on how it's going. And so that says a lot.
It says a lot for sure.
A lot. And Brad seemed very happy. Very, you know, a happy Brad is a good Brad, I guess I would say.
Yeah, you want to work with happy Brad.
Yeah, you don't want to work with other Brad.
Right.
Yes. So, and we did a 6 weeks later.
Yes, so 6 weeks later, the sales were up 10%, according to Brad. And the signature cocktails were loved by all the consumers, which I'm not surprised about the cocktails.
Yeah,
but
they were so good.
You know, at least like John was able to bring it up. The sales are up. However, 10% to me, it doesn't say that much, I will say.
That was one of my things too, because I think because we've been spoiled the last few episodes where it's been 75%, 60%, 50%. That they've been high.
And this is very low. This is like a sales tax on a bill.
Exactly. So they're paying their taxes with that 10%.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, because I'm looking this all up. It's nicely the reviews
For updates?
Yeah, for updates. It's saying that it's a nice remodel of the former City Bar, because that's what it was called. It has great live music, so they're doing live music a lot now.
That's great.
Yeah.
Much needed.
The Sahara Sunrise was delicious.
They renamed it?
No, the drink, the Sahara Sunrise.
Oh, because originally it was...
wasn't it the Sunset, though?
Yeah. Well, no, they did
No, it was the
Sunrise
Sunrise.
and Sunset.
Yeah.
They did both, but usually it's called Tequila Sunrise, Tequila Sunset. So they named it Sahara.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they named it Sahara. And also, one of the other reviews was the Bradley. They love the new name. The Bradley is one of those. And they said, check out Jazz Night on Mondays for some really excellent local jazz musicians.
So originally they had that.
They did have that.
They must have upped their ante with it. It's great.
Yeah, so it's basically everything seems to be going really well for this business. Oh, wait, hold on. The Bradley kept the name of the bar after Bar Rescue Makeover. Oh.
What happened?
It closed.
They closed?
But closed 3 months after Bar Rescue left.
Wow, Dorinda, I'm glad you saw that before we ended this.
Yes.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with up sales in 10%, how could you really keep it going?
Yeah, and they sold it to another owner who didn't keep the concept and opened their own bar in that location.
That's sad.
And it seems that the bar was holding fetish events, Tantalizing Tuesdays, for some time.
Even after the remodel?
That Brad knew about.
Wow. I don't know, you guys. Well, I guess it was ready to fail and nothing could save it at that point.
Yeah, unfortunately. But you know what? In the success rate of bar rescue, it's doesn't happen all that often, but it does happen where some of these bars don't succeed, which is very sad.
Yeah. And it's a lot more than just remodeling a bar and hoping people come. I mean, there's marketing involved. You really got to rebrand your image because they weren't a successful bar beforehand. So what are they going to do to really change people's opinions and get them in the door? It's a hard thing to do. It's a hard feat.
Yeah. So, you go from the reviews that I just read being very good. I didn't see any negative reviews on the place to then going to what happened afterwards, that you'd have the best reviews in the world and 3 months later be closed.
Yeah.
Which is sad, but I do wish all of them the best.
Me
I do
too.
Every single one of them, and I hope they're all found other jobs
Right.
doing bartending or doing what they love.
Agreed.
So you have any other?
No, I mean, I did like the episode. I saw a sneak peek for next episode, and it seemed dramatic. The owner seemed super angry, and the cops were called, so we may have a nutcase.
And there's an ambulance happening. And
Spoiler alert.
But just to let you know, guys, we are on hiatus till September 18th is the next episode. So we'll be on that Monday on the 19th. Just to let you all know what's going on. So if you don't see us for a few weeks, that is what's happening. But on that note, Marissa, is there anything else that you have for us?
Doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in and listening to us. Gabby, where can we find you at?
You guys can follow me on Instagram at Gabby, Gabby, Loren. On Twitter, Gabrielle_Loren. And on Periscope at Gabrielle Loren.
And you can find me, Dorinda, on Instagram at DorindaB1. And on Twitter at Lula Cherry Films. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.